Every night at exactly 2:13 a.m., my doorbell camera recorded the same little girl. She never knocked. She never spoke. She just stood there and stared at my front door. Then she turned around and disappeared into the darkness. For 3 weeks I thought she was a stranger. I was wrong. Because when I finally learned who she was, I discovered a secret my family had hidden for more than 10 years. Before we continue, if you enjoy emotional family stories that stay with you long after they end, subscribe to Shadow Stories and become part of our family. My name is Emma Carter. I'm 38 years old. I live in a small town outside Manchester with my 12-year-old daughter Lily. Life isn't perfect, but it's peaceful. I teach at a local primary school. Lily goes to the secondary school nearby. Most days follow the same routine. Work, dinner, homework, sleep. Nothing exciting. Nothing unusual. At least that's how things used to be. Everything changed on a rainy Tuesday morning. I was sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee before work when my phone buzzed. A motion alert from my doorbell camera. Normally I ignored them. Foxes, cats, the occasional delivery driver. But something made me open the app. The timestamp read 2:13 a.m. A young girl stood on my porch. She couldn't have been older than 10. Dark hair, pink jacket, small backpack. She stared directly at the front door. For several seconds she didn't move. Then she turned around and walked away. I frowned. That was odd. But I didn't think much of it. Children sometimes did strange things. Maybe she was lost. Maybe she had the wrong address. I closed the app and got ready for work. The next morning another alert appeared. 2:13 a.m. The same girl. Same jacket. Same backpack. Same silent stare. This time I watched the entire clip twice. Something about it felt unsettling. Not scary. Just strange. That evening I mentioned it to Lily. She looked up from her homework. The same girl. Yes. Maybe it's a prank. At 2 in the morning? Lily shrugged. Kids on TikTok do weird things. I laughed. She wasn't wrong. Still, something bothered me. The third morning brought another alert. 2:13 a.m. Again. Exactly the same. Now I couldn't stop thinking about it. Who was she? Why my house? And why exactly 2:13 every night? The next evening I showed the footage to my neighbor Sarah. She lived across the road. Do you recognize her? Sarah studied the screen. No. You've never seen her around? No. Sarah paused. Have you thought about calling the police? I shook my head. She's just a child. True. But it's odd. That word again. Odd. Everyone agreed something wasn't right. Yet nobody had an explanation. A week passed. Every morning brought another recording. Every recording looked almost identical. By now Lily had become fascinated. Each morning before school she'd ask, "Did she come back?" And every morning the answer was yes. One Saturday we decided to stay awake and watch. At 2:05 a.m. we sat in the living room with the lights off. At 2:10 a.m. Lily started yawning. At 2:12 a.m. my heart began racing. Then the motion alert appeared. 2:13. I rushed to the front window. Nothing. The street was empty. I opened the door. No girl. No footsteps. No sound. My phone buzzed again. The camera had recorded her. But somehow we hadn't seen her. A chill ran through me. Not fear. Confusion. Pure confusion. The next morning I watched the footage frame by frame. That's when I noticed something new. The girl was holding something. A photograph. She lifted it toward the camera for only a second, then lowered it. I froze the image. The quality wasn't great, but what I saw made my stomach tighten. The photograph looked familiar. Very familiar. I zoomed in. My hand started shaking. The woman in the picture looked exactly like me. Only younger. Much younger. And she was holding a baby. I stared at the screen. No, that wasn't possible. I opened an old family photo album. 10 minutes later I found the picture. The exact same one. It had been taken 12 years earlier. Me, holding newborn Lily. My heart pounded. How did a stranger have that photograph? I didn't post family pictures online. Very few people had copies. And yet somehow this little girl possessed one. That night I barely slept. Questions filled my mind. Who was she? How did she get that picture? What did she want? 3 nights later things became even stranger. At 6:30 in the morning I opened my front door and found an envelope. No stamp. No address. Just my name written on the front. Emma. Inside was a folded piece of paper. 4 words. Please don't be angry. That was it. Nothing else. No explanation. No signature. I showed Lily. She looked worried. Mom, maybe you should call someone. Maybe. But deep down I knew this wasn't dangerous. The note didn't feel threatening. It felt frightened. Like someone was afraid of me. And I couldn't understand why. The next week another envelope appeared. This one contained a different message. I wanted to meet you. I read the words over and over again. Meet me. Who? Why? And why all the secrecy? For the first time I began wondering whether the girl knew me. Not from television. Not from social media. Personally. But that made even less sense. Because I had never seen her before in my life. Or at least, I thought I hadn't. Then one evening my phone rang. The call would reveal a secret that had been hidden for more than a decade. And it would change all of our lives forever. Hello. A man's voice answered. Is this Emma Carter? Yes. There was a long pause. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. I think my daughter has been visiting your house. And that was the moment everything began to unravel. For a moment I couldn't speak. I tightened my grip on the phone. I'm sorry, I said. What did you just say? The man sighed. My daughter. I think she's the girl who's been coming to your house. Every question I'd been carrying for weeks suddenly came rushing back. Who are you? My name is Daniel Miller. And your daughter? Sophie. I walked slowly into the kitchen and sat down. Lily looked at me from across the room. She could tell something was wrong. Mr. Miller, I said carefully, why has your daughter been standing outside my house every night? The line went quiet. Then he answered. Because she believes you're family. I froze. Family? That made absolutely no sense. I'm sorry, I said. You must have the wrong person. I don't. His voice sounded tired. Exhausted. Like someone carrying a weight for a very long time. Can we meet? He asked. I think it's easier if I explain in person. The following afternoon, Daniel arrived at a small cafe near my school. I spotted him immediately. He looked older than his 40-something years. The kind of face that showed years of worry. He stood when I approached. Emma. Yes. We shook hands and sat down. For several seconds neither of us spoke. Then he reached into a folder and placed a photograph on the table. The same photograph. The one Sophie had shown the camera. The one of me holding newborn Lily. My chest tightened. Where did you get this? Daniel looked down. Sophie found it. How? He took a deep breath. Then he asked a question that completely caught me off guard. Did you have a younger sister named Rachel? My heart skipped. Rachel. I hadn't heard her name in years. Yes. Daniel nodded slowly. I thought so. A strange feeling settled over me. The last time I'd spoken to Rachel was nearly 11 years ago. We weren't enemies. Life had simply pulled us in different directions. After our mother died, Rachel moved abroad. The calls became less frequent. The messages stopped. Then one day, nothing. I tried contacting her several times, but eventually I accepted that she wanted distance. It hurt, but I respected her choice. What does Rachel have to do with this? I asked. Daniel looked directly at me. Everything. My stomach twisted. Then he told me a story I wasn't prepared to hear. 11 years earlier, Rachel had given birth to a baby girl. A little girl she couldn't raise. She was struggling financially. Alone. Scared. And overwhelmed. After months of difficult decisions, she chose adoption. The baby was adopted by Daniel and his wife. That baby was Sophie. I stared at him. The cafe noise disappeared. The conversations around us faded. For several seconds I couldn't hear anything except my own heartbeat. No. Daniel nodded. Yes. I covered my mouth. My eyes filled with tears. I remembered Rachel's pregnancy. I remembered her fear. I remembered her crying in my kitchen one night. I don't know what to do, Emma. Back then I was a struggling single mother myself. Lily was only a baby. Neither of us had money. Neither of us had support. I wanted to help Rachel, but I couldn't save her. And now I was learning that the little girl outside my house wasn't a stranger. She was my niece. My own niece. The realization hit me like a wave. Does Sophie know? Daniel nodded. Partially. What do you mean? She found adoption paperwork 6 months ago. I closed my eyes. Oh no. We tried to answer her questions. She's a smart kid. She kept searching. Eventually she found Rachel's name. Then he paused. And then she found yours. I sat back in my chair. Everything suddenly made sense. The photographs. The notes. The visits. The desperate need to meet me. Sophie hadn't been stalking a stranger. She had been searching for family. But one question still remained. Why didn't she just knock on the door? Daniel looked away. The sadness in his eyes said everything. Because she was terrified. Terrified of what? Rejection. The word hit me harder than I expected. Daniel swallowed. Sophie thought you might hate her. My heart broke. Hate her. She worried you'd blame her for Rachel giving her away. Tears immediately filled my eyes. How could a child carry something so heavy? How could she believe any of this was her fault? Then Daniel revealed something else. Something I never saw coming. My wife died last year. The words hung in the air. I felt my chest tighten. I'm sorry. He nodded. So am I. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then he continued. After she passed away, Sophie changed. She became quieter. Lonelier. She started asking questions about where she came from. I could hear the pain in his voice. Not just grief. Guilt. The guilt of a father trying to heal a wound he couldn't reach. She misses her mother every day, he said softly. And she thinks finding her biological family might help her understand who she is. I wiped tears from my eyes. By the time our conversation ended, I knew one thing for certain. I needed to meet Sophie. Not because I had to. 'Cause I wanted to. The meeting happened the following Saturday. I was nervous all morning. More nervous than I'd been in years. Lily was excited. She kept pacing around the living room. What if she's nice? What if she's funny? What if she hates me? I laughed through my nerves. Why would she hate you? I don't know. We both smiled. At exactly 2 o'clock, a car pulled into the driveway. My heart started pounding. Daniel stepped out first. Then Sophie, the mysterious little girl. For weeks she'd existed only on a screen. Now she was standing in front of me. Real. Small. Nervous. She looked even younger in person. Daniel gently squeezed her shoulder. You okay? She nodded. Barely. Then she looked up at me. For several seconds nobody spoke. Finally Sophie whispered. Hi. The sound of her voice nearly broke me. Hi, Sophie. She stared at me. I stared at her. And suddenly I saw Rachel. The same eyes. The same smile. The same shy expression. It was like looking at a younger version of my sister. Tears immediately filled my eyes. Sophie's eyes widened. Oh no. She looked panicked. I'm sorry. I quickly shook my head. No, sweetheart. I'm not upset. These are happy tears. She relaxed slightly. Then she asked the question she'd probably been carrying for months. "You're really my aunt?" I nodded. "Yes." Silence. Then another question. "Are you angry that I found you?" The room went completely still. Daniel looked away. Lily stopped moving. And my heart shattered. Because I realized that was the fear she'd been carrying all along. The reason she stood outside instead of knocking. The reason she left notes instead of speaking. The reason she came at 2:13 every night. She thought she wasn't wanted. I walked over slowly, then knelt beside her, and said something I hoped she'd remember forever. "Listen to me, Sophie." She looked up. "I could never be angry that you found me." A tear rolled down her cheek. Then another. And another. A second later she threw her arms around me and held on as tightly as she could. I hugged her back. Neither of us wanted to let go. But as emotional as that moment was, none of us knew that another secret was still waiting. A secret hidden inside a box that belonged to Rachel. And when that box finally appeared, it would reveal why Rachel disappeared from our lives all those years ago. And it would change everything we thought we knew about her. The weeks after meeting Sophie were some of the most emotional weeks of my life. Every Saturday she visited. Sometimes with Daniel. Sometimes for the entire afternoon. Slowly the awkwardness disappeared. Lily and Sophie became close almost immediately. They spent hours watching films, baking cookies, and laughing upstairs. The sound filled the house. A house that had felt far too quiet for years. One afternoon I stood in the kitchen listening to them laugh. Daniel smiled. "She hasn't laughed like that in a long time." I looked toward the stairs. "She's a wonderful kid." His eyes filled with emotion. "She is." Then he added quietly, "She just misses her mom." I nodded, because I knew exactly what that felt like. Months passed, and for the first time in years life felt complete. Not perfect, but complete. Then one ordinary Tuesday changed everything. I came home from work and found a small package sitting on my doorstep. There was no return address. Only my name. Emma Carter. Immediately I felt uneasy. I carried it inside. Lily sat beside me as I opened it. Inside was a wooden box. Old. Worn. And taped to the top was a handwritten note. My heart nearly stopped when I recognized the handwriting. "Rachel. My sister." My hands began shaking. The note was short. "If you are reading this, then Sophie has found you. And if Sophie has found you, then it's finally time for the truth." Tears filled my eyes. For 11 years I had wondered why Rachel disappeared. Now I was about to find out. Inside the box were dozens of letters. Some addressed to me. Some addressed to Sophie. Some never addressed at all. The first letter was dated 11 years earlier. I unfolded it carefully. The moment I started reading, tears rolled down my face. "Emma, if you're reading this, it means I was too much of a coward to tell you everything myself. You think I left because I didn't care. The truth is the exact opposite. I left because I loved you." I stopped reading. My vision blurred. Lily gently squeezed my hand. I continued. Rachel explained that after placing Sophie for adoption, she fell into a deep depression. Every time she saw a child, she thought about the daughter she'd given away. Every birthday hurt. Every Christmas hurt. Every Mother's Day hurt even more. She couldn't forgive herself. Eventually she accepted a job overseas. Not because she wanted adventure, because she wanted distance from the pain. The farther she went, the easier it became to survive. Or so she thought. But the letters revealed something even more heartbreaking. 4 years Rachel secretly followed our lives from afar. She saw photos online. She read school achievements. She learned about Lily growing up. She knew more than I realized. But she never contacted us. Because she believed she didn't deserve to. Then I reached a letter written only 2 years earlier. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was another truth. Rachel had been seriously ill. Very ill. A rare disease. One that doctors couldn't cure. I felt the air leave my lungs. No. Lily looked at me. What is it? I couldn't answer. I kept reading. Rachel had spent years undergoing treatment. Years fighting quietly. Years hiding her suffering. And she never told me. Never told anyone. Then I reached the final paragraph. And my heart shattered. If Sophie ever finds you, tell her I never stopped loving her. Not for one day. Not for 1 minute. Not for 1 second. Every choice I made was imperfect. But loving her was never difficult. I cried harder than I had in years. Not because Rachel had made mistakes. Because she carried all that pain alone. The next day I called Daniel. And that evening he and Sophie came over. We sat together in the living room. The box resting on the coffee table between us. I explained everything. Carefully. Gently. When I finished, Sophie was crying. Daniel was crying. Even Lily wiped away tears. Finally Sophie asked the question nobody wanted to answer. Is my birth mom still alive? Silence filled the room. I looked down. Then I slowly shook my head. No, sweetheart. Her face crumpled. The pain in her eyes was unbearable. Even though she'd never truly known Rachel, the loss felt real. Because hope had existed. And now it didn't. For several minutes she cried into Daniel's shoulder. Then something unexpected happened. She reached for one of the letters. The one addressed to her. With trembling hands she opened it. And began reading aloud. My beautiful Sophie. If you're reading this, then you're probably old enough to understand something I couldn't understand myself for many years. Being someone's mother isn't only about raising them. Sometimes it's about making impossible choices because you love them. I wanted to keep you. I dreamed of keeping you. But love isn't always enough. You deserved stability. You deserved opportunities. You deserved a family who could give you everything I couldn't. So I made the hardest decision of my life. And every day afterward I wondered if you hated me. If you do, I understand. But please know this. Not a single day passed without me loving you. By this point nobody in the room was holding back tears. Then Sophie reached the final lines. And those lines changed everything. Don't spend your life searching for what you lost. Spend it appreciating what you found. Your father loves you. Your family loves you. And if life is kind, maybe one day you'll find your Aunt Emma. If you do, give her a hug for me. The room completely fell silent. Sophie lowered the letter. Then looked at me. Without saying a word she stood. Walked across the room. And hugged me. Tightly. As if she never wanted to let go. And honestly, neither did I. Several weeks later, Sophie asked me something I've been wondering since the beginning. Do you want to know why I always came at 2:13 a.m.? I smiled. I've been wondering for months. She laughed softly. Then her expression became thoughtful. My adoptive mom worked night shifts when I was younger. I nodded. Every night she left home at 2:13. A lump formed in my throat. After she died, I started waking up at that time. She looked down. It made me feel close to her. Suddenly everything made sense. The visits. The routine. The exact time. It had never been random. It was the moment she felt closest to the person she'd lost. And somehow, it became the moment that led her to the family she'd been searching for. A year later, our lives looked completely different. Sunday dinners became a tradition. Birthdays became bigger. Christmas became louder. And our family became stronger. One evening Sophie handed me a framed photograph. The picture showed all of us together. Me, Lily, Daniel, and Sophie. A family created by love, loss, forgiveness, and second chances. Across the bottom she'd written a quote I'll never forget. Family isn't always the people who start your story. Sometimes it's the people who help you finish it. That photograph still sits in my living room today. And every time I walk past it, I think about a frightened little girl standing silently outside my door at 2:13 in the morning. A girl who wasn't looking for money, or answers, or attention. She was looking for something far simpler, a place to belong. And thankfully, she found one. Because sometimes the door we are afraid to knock on is the very door that changes our lives forever. Sometimes people carry pain we know nothing about. Before judging someone's choices, remember that many sacrifices are made out of love, even when they don't look that way at first. Family is not only about where you come from, it's about the people who choose to love and support each other every day. If you discovered a hidden letter from a family member you lost years ago, what would be the first question you'd want answered? If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Shadow Street.